and welcome back to another episode of Grit and Grace Leadership Talks with myself, Kate Taylor. And I'm very excited to share with you this episode with someone who's very important in my life at the moment in business. I've got Danni Godfrey here. She is my business development manager and friend who we've known in recruitment for many years now. And what connected us together was through the work I do as an RUK ambassador. So I came and spoke at her workplace about 5 years ago now. And now she's working for me. So that's really exciting. Thanks,
We
Danni.
always knew this was going to happen. The stars needed to align.
I know the timing was never always quite right, but we finally found it.
Yes.
So
thank you for the intro.
yeah, it's been great to connect with you and obviously have you more in my world every day. From being, peers in recruitment and business and leadership. And also, we've obviously recruited in different industries and sectors, but we have a lot of common things that we hear a lot of in our jobs as recruiters and HR executives that we feel it would be great to have a chat with you all today around mental health in the workplace and the impacts of that, and how can you have a psychological safety workplace. I think for both of us, we have that lived experience lens as well as someone who's worked in HR and leadership for a long time. Yeah. So I felt like it was great to bring it in on this one. So it's not just me talking to everyone on this, but actually it was kind of came about, this whole topic was when we were having a client meeting recently, and we had a client who was asking us, how do they deal with this situation with a staff member who has disclosed some lived experience in the role that they're doing and feeling triggered by the work they're doing. So we felt like it would be great to come from a HR lens, one, but also to come from some people who have got lived experience with mental health and what we found helps us, and just raise that awareness and create that conversation where we can have that psychologically safe conversation around mental health and wellbeing in the workplace. So thanks, Danni, for joining us today. And just started off with a bit of a lighter note. I just would love to know, because I know this is like a full-on deep topic today. Yes. I would love to know what you do in your morning routine, any rituals you have that help you come from a place of clarity and strong mental health to go about your day.
Yeah, most day I woke up and it's just hope and caffeine. No, definitely the caffeine. But for me, I as soon as I wake up, I set an intention for that day.
Okay.
To really just ground myself, take a few deep intentional breaths and be present in the moment. Yeah. And that could be, my intention could be having a joyful experience or a meaningful experience with everyone that I come across. Okay. Most days I like to sit outside and drink my coffee in the morning and get my sunlight in the morning.
Yes.
Thank you, Andrew Huberman. And my skincare routine.
Okay.
That's something for me. I do morning and night.
Me too.
Yes. And it just makes me feel
good, doesn't it?
Feel glowy, ready to tackle the world.
Yes. That's why we have such great skin.
Absolutely.
I knew it. There was something No, I love that. And I think it's, even being intentional. Like when I was putting on my face cream last night, I was being very intentional to not just rush the process, but actually feel it in my skin and being really present in that and seeing it as a form of self-care and looking after me. And I felt like it's just such a nice way to end the day. It's almost like a little massage and treatment for your face.
Yeah, you can go one step further and get a gua sha, and it's like a little massage on the face.
Oh, is that little crystal thing that you put?
Yeah. I keep mine in the fridge so it's nice and cool and deep puffs. It's good for the morning when you wake up puffy.
Okay, I'll remember that. Who knew you were getting makeup packs today as well?
Here all week.
And could you tell us a little bit about your career path? And obviously we all kind of fall into recruitment generally through a roundabout way. So I'd love to know what got you into recruitment and how you started out and where you are now.
Yeah. If I had $1 for every time I heard I fell into recruitment, I wouldn't be working in recruitment anymore. I fell into recruitment when I was temping for Action Workforce.
Okay.
On their desk as a receptionist before a trip to Hawaii. And I remember looking back in the office, and it was a blue-collar temporary labour hire business. and the phones were going nuts and it was all happening. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm never, ever going to work in recruitment. 10 years later.
10 years. I'm 15 years now. Far out.
Yeah. So when I came back from Hawaii, the branch manager, Blair Barry Jones, called me, offered me a position as a consultant, and the rest is history.
Wow.
I got into account management at Zoom Recruitment, where I was dealing with a lot of EBAs, awards, and industrial relations. So that's where my passion for HR and industrial relations really
comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I enrolled and started studying then.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And you've gone from being a receptionist to consultant to then what you did, account managing, was it? And then branch manager and a business development manager. So you've really done a variety of roles, and I think it's the same as me. Like, I started at the bottom and worked my way up in recruitment, and I think that's the best managers, because we actually understand all the roles that we're asking our staff to do. Every task we ask people to do, we could do it ourselves, but it's not the best use of our time. So it's about looking at where we can delegate and where we can work as a team. And I think that's something that I always respect managers who have worked their way up in the field, especially when I was starting out. I looked up to them. So I hope that people do that with us. But it's definitely something we strive to do. And I guess we can come from that place of understanding or clarity around what their tasks are based on our experience, which always helps. So that's great.
And it enables us to be able to provide the best coaching or situational leadership as well to our staff.
Exactly. And I think it's about adapting. Obviously, we've had to do that through COVID. We have seen lockdowns, restrictions change at last minute, the highs and lows of managing and motivating staff during that time as well. Motivating ourselves to show up the best we can be. I remember in lockdown, just feeling like, like just stuck inside all the time, just in your house. And so actually making that effort to, in the mornings, go for that walk and get that exercise in before transitioning to a work day and getting dressed for work, like as if I'm going to work, I just found really helped me feel like I was separating work and home a little bit. But that was a whole journey in itself. And I guess that's kind of led us to where we are now in 2023 and looking at how there's been some new laws come in recently around psychological safety in the workplace. I've had a lot of clients and candidates asking me about that. And as well, being an ambassador for Are You Okay? I felt like it was really good for us to have a chat about this and what advice we would give people, because I feel like people are still unsure on how to do this well in the workplace. And obviously we haven't got it all mastered yet, but we are happy to share our ideas and suggestions that we've given to other people in our experience.
And just on, off the back of what you've just said there, by no means am I an employment lawyer. This is based off my experience and knowledge as a HR professional. So if you do need to get legal experience, please go and do that.
Yes.
But based off, what I understand and what I've learned is that, Australian laws and regulations changed last year. So Safe Work Australia brought in a new act back in 2022. And it's actually called Managing Psychosocial Hazards in the Workplace.
Okay.
Now, the first thing that I would recommend for people to do is jump onto the Safe Work Australia government website so they can understand what a psychosocial hazard is.
Tongue twister.
It really is. Because unlike other, risks from a WHS standpoint, some of them aren't tangible.
Okay.
So it's really important that you understand, what it is, what it looks like, so you can assess
and apply it to your workplace.
Absolutely. Put contingencies in place.
Yeah.
So what else can we do to promote a psychological safe workplace? That's
probably what we need to discuss here.
Promote. And I think encouraging open communication amongst your team.
Yes.
An inclusive environment where your employees feel safe.
Yeah. And how do we know if our employees feel safe, do you think, in the workplace? Like what shows us that they feel safe to to tell us if there's something wrong. What have you seen in your experience?
I tend to, it's difficult for me because I tend to get people to open up quite easily.
Yeah,
because
me too.
I'm a very vulnerable person when it comes to my team. I think that makes a great attribute as a leader when you're leading from the front. And you yourself are great at this as well. You'll come in and say, hey, I've got this X, Y, and Z's going on today, so that's why I'm not feeling my bubbly self.
Yes.
So those connections, those type of things are going to help you to build a connection with your team to help them to open up to you if you find that they're not.
Yeah, because I feel like, you can do different things in your week, but the one feedback we get on as an AUK ambassador is that people feel like Are You Okay Day is just the day, and it's a tick box exercise, and they feel like their managers don't show any support or empathy or care, and so they're like, why would we tell them our problems when they don't care about us at all, and in their actions? And so I think really, if you want your staff to feel safe, then you need to create that space. And I think for me, I've always been very, like Danni said, that vulnerability around how I'm going on a given day with what's going on personally or professionally. Some days are just heavy, and actually saying to your team, guys, this is going to be a hard one for me this week, or this is going to be a lot going on. I need you guys to have my back. Actually gives them permission as well to step in and jump in and help you, because how can they know they don't want to step on your toes either. And so how can they support you if you don't tell them what you need? And I've even been doing more with my husband at home too lately with what's going on, and just being like, hey, this is what I need from you right now. And like, this is the support I need. And I know not everyone is good at doing that. And I think it's, as a culture, we need to get better at it. One way we've done it in Taylor Care is that I came up with the idea about doing a wellbeing check-in on a Monday morning. So we discuss as a team, we go around the group and just say, out of 10, how's our overall mental health? So, 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever it is. And then what are we doing for that week for our mind, body, and soul? So we have to think of at least one thing. And this has been interesting because at least it gives you a little bit of a snapshot of what that person's going through and how they're feeling. So if they're normally an 8 out of 10, and all of a sudden they're a 6 out of 10, you want to know why. Yeah. And it might not be in the meeting that you asked them, but it gives permission for you to go, okay, you mentioned in the catch-up this week that you were feeling a 6 out of 10. Is there a reason for that? Usually I know the reason because people tell me everything. But if I don't, at least I can say, hey, what's happening for you this week? Yeah. And we just don't know what's going on in people's worlds. Even our employees, like our staff, like, we don't know what they've gone through at home that week. We don't know if their marriage is on the rocks, if they've gone through financial stress. Tough time at the moment for everyone. Like, we don't know what is going on in their worlds. Remembrance of a loved one, like, Memorial Day or an annual day for something that triggers them. Like I had recently, it's really important to be sensitive to that. And we can't know it all because people don't always tell us. But in those wellbeing check-ins, as you found, even when I've not been here and you've done it, staff have opened up to you, right, and told you stuff.
Yeah. And I think another great way to showcase this is when it comes to workplaces, you've seen it all as recruiters. I've seen it all.
Good and
bad.
bad.
The one thing that all successful companies or teams had in common was their leadership team were well-oiled machines. So they really lead from the front quite well and lead by example. And they're approachable. One particular example I want to use is, and I've got permission from Youth Insert, shout out to you, James, to use this, and I picked up on this. Something they do really, really well, and I'm going to read from this so I get it exactly right. I don't want to misinform anyone. And they have a personal situation plan alongside their professional development plan. Yeah. So this means to support people to stay at work and to navigate challenges that they have through day-to-day life. And this is going to be owned by the employee.
Okay.
Like a normal one-to-one would be. So you manage as your first escalation point.
Yep.
You come to them, point out and say, I'm going through anxiety, or perhaps someone's had a change in medication and something like that. And then it's up to the manager to go and review that workload and that plan to
support that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that person, or said employee still can show up to work, because sometimes I think, work, if it's a safe environment, can be a place for people to come to escape whatever it is that's going on at home.
Yeah, definitely. And it can be that safe landing space for them to come and feel like they're doing something that's practical or that's working. Yeah.
It gives them a sense of achievement and just that they're contributing to this world. A sense of agency.
Yeah, I love that. And so they are very practical, I know, Youth in Search as a client of ours, about supporting their teams with the highs and lows of life, whether it's sick kids or what have you. And you gave the example of one of the manager there, when his kids get sick, he's able to step back and contact his upline, his CEO, and they're able to cover for each other. And I think that's so important, because I feel like as an executive team, the higher up you get, the more responsibilities you have in the workplace and in home, and generally have large mortgages or high pressure. So you're trying to do it all. And I think the one thing that I've identified recently is that, compared to when our parents were working in the workforce, showing age a little, but, to now, like back then there were no mobile phones. They would log in and log out at a certain time. They'd leave the office and that was it for the day. They couldn't be contacted to the next day. But the problem with our life now is that we are on 24/7. So how do we sustain well-being, mental health, balance, all of that while we are constantly in a society where we're on?
Again, that starts from the front. So I'll provide an example of when I worked at Express Employment Professionals. Our CEO, Arthur McCall, of ANZ for Frontline Group and Express, wouldn't allow us to send emails like after 6 p.m.
Okay.
We didn't send internal emails to each other, or we'd schedule it. Outlook has that now, because that's personal time.
Wow. Okay.
And respect to that personal time. And that came from our CEO at the top, setting that boundary of that this is my time, but this is also your time.
Wow.
Obviously, if something was on fire and the world was ending, you pick up the phone, text, whatever. But if it didn't need to be sent after 6 p.m., then it waits till tomorrow, scheduled till tomorrow.
That's a really good idea. I've never thought to do that. On the flip side, then I've also, worked for someone before who has sent me a extremely abusive Teams at 9:30 p.m. because I didn't do something he asked me. So and how did that make you feel?
Anxious. I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to go to work the next day and face him, because I felt like and it was as simple as he had asked me to pick up the phone. However, the person I needed to call was overseas. The time zones weren't. He was asleep. So I followed up with an email, but because I didn't pick up the phone, it was the world ended.
And I think that's the thing. It's like respecting each other's time and boundaries. And I think as an employer, and it's different for everyone. I think you have a different relationship with different managers too. Like, obviously you and I know each other outside of work, so we have we'll often message each other, but it's more fun stuff at night. So it's like on Instagram, we'll send each other like a reel or a quote or something that resonates. And so it's not like work.
You're not yelling at me at 9:30 at night on Teams when I'm trying to fall asleep. Yes,
that's not great.
No.
And I think often it's great to send out emails if you are in that zone late at night, but I think as a manager, but it's like remembering that how are they going to show up when the team read that the next day? Like, is it better to kind of draft it and not send it until the next morning? Or, when's the best time to send that? Because sometimes when we're late at night, we can be tired and run down ourselves. And so sometimes we don't come across as well as we could. So understanding that when you are going to be at your best, some people will get up early in the morning and do emails before everyone starts their day and gets them all out. And that's also another way. I'm a night owl, so I'm happy to do nighttime emails. But like you said, it's good to remember as a manager, how is your team going to, if they happen to pick that up and read it,
Well, you can always schedule them now in Outlook, put a timer on it, so that way that you draft it all up and then send it, say, for 8 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You need to show me how to do that. And it's just about coming together as a team, I guess. The other thing we had was a client who came to us and was saying, look, they're in domestic violence area and they have a refuge for women, an amazing service. And they kind of said to us, how do we support someone who's come on board as a counsellor, but who is openly telling us they've got lived experience in this area and they're finding the work quite triggering, right? And she'd come from HR in a different industry. So she was kind of coming to us going like, how do I manage this as HR? And that's what kind of sparked this conversation, I think, and started us saying how we need to get this out there and kind of showcase and explain to companies and people in business how they can support their teams better. And obviously we don't have all the answers, but something we did say from my experience is actually, I actually appreciate when people are honest about their past and what might trigger them, and actually being able to say, hey, Kate, this is something that I'm juggling with right now, and being able to be that kind of sounding board, but then also asking them what steps help them in dealing with that trigger. So do you have a self-care plan? Do you have, kind of a toolkit that you use? Okay, I call my psychologist or I go to my GP. What is it that you find helps you get back on track and after a trigger? And so some people aren't with triggers, as I've learned with my own journey with mental health and anxiety as a teenager, as well as in adult in recent years with fertility challenges, is knowing what tools have helped me in the past. So if they're a bit stuck or just in the heat of the moment of that trigger, being able to say to them, what things have helped you before? So then that can make them think back and go, actually, yeah, when I felt my best, I was seeing my psychologist regularly. I was exercising regularly. I was eating well. I was on my antidepressants. Like, what is it that helps you function and thrive through that trigger? I think it's really important. I mean, what have you found has helped you over the years?
With myself personally, or my staff? With
yourself, like when you've had a trigger, being with your background. I don't know how much you want to share.
Yeah, no, that's okay. For me, it's been able to identify the feeling in my body when it's starting to come up.
Yeah.
And then remove myself from the situation. So I've got ADHD and anxiety. So if I'm feeling a sensory overload, that there are too many people talking, there are too many lights, my sock feels funny, and I can feel a random hair on my face. If you know, you know. I remove myself and go into a quiet place and do some breath work.
Okay.
I've had headphones before that have been noise cancelling. So as a recruiter, I'd pop them on so I didn't hear anyone, but it was funny because people would then often think I was on the phone and wouldn't bother me. So that was a great way to not only shut people out, but let them leave me alone so I could get some work done. But it's a journey, recognizing your triggers and then learning how to self-soothe isn't something that is going to happen for you overnight. It's trial and error with different therapists and different tools in your toolkit to have.
And for you personally, I think it's that mental health toolkit, I feel like, is the thing I know I've got.
Yes.
My PT, my psychologist, my chiro, like I've got a mix of people that all come into play when life is getting intense, or just to maintain me to be at high performance level. So juggling that 24/7 of running a business, being a mum, doing it all. I have these tools in place, and I've ramped that up recently because I noticed that I had kind of stopped doing a lot of the things that were helping me feel better. And even just simple as having a morning green juice, like getting organic veggies, greens, celery, spinach, ginger, lemon, mango, just like putting it all into a smoothie. And drinking that on my way into work. Like I've noticed the days I do that, I feel so much better. And sometimes it's just simple as going back to what when I felt my best or when I was thriving, what was I doing differently to what I'm doing now? And I think that's something that we can all reflect on and kind of remember to check in on ourselves, because we can't be the best we can be if we're helping everyone else first. And I know in our industry that we recruit for social work, psych counselling and management in a lot of disability providers, not-for-profits, you know, your work is so intense and you're always giving to everyone. Like every staff member in your organization is a giver and a carer, because that's why they're in that field. And I think it's really important to remember that you have to, like on the airplane, put on your own life mask first before you put it onto the person next to you. And sometimes it takes people in your world, if you have a safe workplace, where your staff or your manager can point out when you're not yourself or when you're not at your peak performance. And I've noticed, like I've had staff over the years when I've been going through some heavy stuff, and they know me well enough and I'm comfortable enough with me to say, hey, Kate, I think you need to book a session with your psych today, like for this week. And I'll be like, oh, I thought I was doing okay, but maybe I'm not. And sometimes we need people in our world to be able to just pull us up and say, I care about you, but this is beyond my scope. Can you go and get the help you need? And I think that's really important to know. On
like the back end of that. One thing that people will say to me that actually triggers me and upsets me is, have you had your meds today?
Oh.
Now that's not, so you know, just talk to your psych. I concur. I think that's a really great, you know, thing too if you've got that relationship. But have you had your meds today? I would recommend, as someone with lived experience who does take medication for her ADHD and anxiety, to not say that to someone.
I think, what would be a better way they could say to someone if they were concerned in their team that they weren't themselves, if they do identify like yourself with ADHD or anxiety or mental health, what would be a better way to say that?
First of all, pulling them into a room or a cafe somewhere where it's a safe space to have that conversation, where it's a safe space for them to open up. And asking them, like, are you okay? I've noticed some changes. And then further to that, listen with the intention of understanding them. Like a child who is curious in the playground, be curious to understand what it is that they are telling you and perhaps why.
That's a really good one. And then I think that kind of leads to the Are You Okay 4 steps, I think. So as an Are You Okay ambassador, we promote these 4 steps, which I'll run through with you now. So you kind of mentioned 2 of them. So it's that asking, are you okay, in the right time and place, listening without wanting to respond. So listening without judgment, giving them that space to express themselves, encouraging action from there. So like, okay, like I said, what things have helped you feel better in the past? What support do you need right now? How can I support you? You know, there are all ways you can ask them to kind of get their brain thinking again. Okay, what do I need to do to help myself right now? And then checking in on them a week from then, you know, or a few days, whenever. Trust your gut on that one, because I feel like that people come to my mind at the time they need me to reach out. So I'll often, someone will pop in my head when I read a quote and I'll just forward it to them. Or I'll send them a quick text. Hey, thinking of you today. Like, how's everything going? Or I saw this reel and it reminded me of you. Thought you might find this encouraging. And the amount of times I get people come back to me and go, Kate, that's exactly what I needed today. People that are like distant friends through connections on Facebook or LinkedIn, like they just come back to me and are like, wow, I needed that today. So don't overthink it. If someone pops in your head, just do a quick message or reach out or say, hey, can we have a coffee this week? Or we haven't seen each other for a while. Let's catch up. I think just people knowing that you're thinking of them and that you care just can make the world a difference, especially if they're in a hard time.
Because it's, if you are in a place of depression, you do, even though like logically, you know, there are all these people around you, but in that moment you feel like it's just you. So when you do get that gentle, you know, reminder,
checking in.
Yeah, it is lovely. It's nice.
Yeah, I definitely think it makes a difference. And so, yeah, I've learned it's like listening to intuition and when to do it. And I think the more I've listened to that and action it, the more I've seen it help people. So the more I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a muscle, right? The more you're in tune to it, the more you'll pick up on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you do come across someone that's exposing stuff that they're, you know, feeling suicidal or not feeling themselves, be very proactive and giving them either your EAP support in your workplace or giving them the phone numbers for like Lifeline, 13, 11, 14, suicide callback, kids helpline, Beyond Blue. That all the numbers are on the back of these little cards that you can get from Are You Okay? And also jump on their websites because there's a lot of helpful links and articles that you can check out on there too.
Well, I think, you know, by way of helping businesses to be more across this topic, collaborating with mental health organisations such as Are You OK Day is a great way to do that and provide your staff with training and upskilling on these topics, so that they're fully across it. And another example of that is, you know, after this at 1 p.m, I'm heading off to do a safe talk in Surrey Hills to listen to a training seminar on suicide awareness and what to look out for, what signs to look out for. So definitely a great way to upskill your staff.
Yeah, the safe talks now, the government is offering that. You can have someone come speak at your workplace for free now. They're doing this training. It's a suicide prevention training and awareness training. I've done it as an IOK ambassador. So when it came up, I said to Danni, would you like to do it? So she's going to go do that. There's also mental health first aid that you can do, which I actually want to do that. I haven't done it yet.
I want to do that as well.
But yeah, it's a great place to start, and it kind of gets the momentum and the conversation happening. So definitely, you know, you might want to have someone in the workplace who is that mental health support person or wellbeing coordinator, or you can come up with all sorts of names, but that people know they can go to them if they're having a rough time and just need a chat. I think that's a really helpful way. And then setting staff on training to also upskill and to feel more empowered about having these safe conversations.
Having an EAP in place, there's plenty out there.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and using it, encouraging your staff to use it. I think it's so important. And if you don't like the first one you speak to, try another. Like, think about your hairdresser. You got to go to a few to get the right one. So don't be afraid to go and get that help and try a few out before you decide who you want to stick with.
I think I've seen like something like 8 psychologists before I got to my one that I've stuck with for 3 years now. Shout out Celine, she's amazing. But it's trial and error.
It is trial and error, and I think
there is help out there.
There is help out there, and you've just got to look for the right one that suits you. And then to finish off today, what is your favorite quote that showcases that grit and grace and leadership in life that we portray in our work? What would you say is a favorite quote?
I wanted to keep this tied into like the work area, and it's something that Arthur McCall, the CEO of Frontline Group and Express, said to me, and it stuck with me. And I remind myself of this every day. And what he said was, Danni, be who you are and do what you do, and you'll always have a place here. So
I love that.
What I remind myself is just be who you are and do what you do. Yeah. Because that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think one of our, vision board that we have with the quotes on it here, one of the statements is that your unique style shine, you know, and it's like, because when I was coming up with those things for my business, my friend said, where you've excelled in your job, Kate, in the past is where people have let you be who you are and not tried to make you be something you're not. And so, and empowering you to do that.
Which comes back to creating a place where you can allow people to be themselves, their authentic selves.
Exactly. And come as you are. Yeah. And, together we'll get through whatever's happening. And I just think that supportive place of work is so important. And like we've showcased, Youth in Search are doing that really well. We're trying our best to do that too, and other organisations. And I'd love to keep this conversation going about how you're applying psychological safety in the workplace and mental health wellbeing plans and what ideas you have. So please add that in the comments because we would love to hear about that, and reach out to us if you would like to have a chat or talk through anything in particular around mental health and wellbeing, because we are very pro in this topic, as well as HR and recruitment practices to help workplaces thrive around that. So thank you so much for your time today, Danni. We've really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you. Thank you for popping my podcast cherry.
Yeah, your first
Am I allowed
podcast.
to say that?
And yeah, I think it's great to get different people in here to chat with me around different topics. So hopefully you found this helpful today. And thank you for coming on board and listening. Please share with all your colleagues, friends, and family. We'd love to get the word out more. Thank you.
Me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Thanks for watching, and we look forward to hearing more amazing guests like Danni next week. So watch out for the next episode, and please like and share with your co-workers and friends. We appreciate you, and